Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a video review. And for this review, I want to take a look at the game Wanted Dead, the newest game from Soleil, the developer, Soleil. I apologize if I'm not saying the name correctly, though. This game came out like a couple of months ago. I didn't get a chance to review it back then, so I'm using this opportunity to review it, though. I'm reviewing the game on the Xbox Series X and S. This is being played on the Series S, though. Game is also available on the Xbox One, PS4, PS5, and PC via Steam. And if you're interested in any gameplay footage, I'll have a link down in the description down below, or you can click on the card that will appear up on this video. And for parents out there, it's worth pointing out that Wanted Dead is rated M for mature audiences only, ages 17 and up by the ESRB rating. Excuse me. During the Wii U, PS3, and 360, or PS4 and Xbox One era, there was a game that was developed at the time called by the name of Devil's Third. This was developed by former head of Team Ninja, I think Ichikade, if I'm saying his name correctly, I apologize if I'm not, though, who helped create the Dead or Alive series and worked on the Ninja Gaiden series at a time when he worked at Techno, which is now called Koei Techno, and all, though. Originally, this game was to be published by THQ, but this was before THQ filed for bankruptcy, though eventually it will be revived as THQ Nordic and all, but that would be years away, though. And so it was interesting during one of Nintendo's digital presentation during E3 when it was announced that they would be publishing Devil's Third, and that would be coming to the Wii U, and it was certainly a surprise for a lot of folks out there. However, the game did not get sort of the best response, that some have sort of criticized the game in general, mostly for some of its performance issues and all, but it sort of has earned sort of a charm. There are those who like that game, and there are those who don't, to be exact, though. But in either case, the game's kind of got a mixed response, though, to be exact, though, and it's one of those games that never really has, you know, it's only stuck on the Wii U. It's never been ported over to the Switch or anything else like other Wii U games have, though. Fast forward a couple years later, it's the same folks who worked on those games, I think it was known as Aulx Studios, would eventually form their own studio, and they would also make several games, though. This is made up of folks who worked on Dead or Alive and Ninja Gaiden. They would work on the Samurai Jack game, though, to even Valkyrie Elysium, to be exact. And now they are releasing their original IP, their game, though, by the name of Wanted Dead, published by 110 Industry SA. And after spending some time with that game, I will say it's a kind of game that, like Devil's Third, though, it's going to be a type of game you're either going to love or you're going to hate. But at the same time, I do feel like this game is basically what, to a certain degree, Devil's Third should have been when that game originally came out. So why don't we get started with the pros and the cons, and we'll start first with the pros. And excuse me, the first part, in terms of the pros, though, is the third-person combat and gameplay. And I will say that it is an enjoyable gameplay, to be exact, with Wanted Dead. In a way, it's kind of sort of a throwback to some of the early or some of the third-person shooter games we may remember back during, the original, Xbox or GameCube or PS2 era. And that certainly isn't a bad thing, though. It's a mixture of both gunplay and swordplay, to be exact, though. And for the most part, it's basically over-the-shoulder third-person shooter when it comes to the gunplay. And in the combat side, with hand-to-hand combat, you're armed with your Officer Stone, armed with a sword and a pistol, which can sometimes be used as sort of to counter, like when an enemy is attacking you, particularly with a melee weapon and all. And when you build up a certain meter and all, you can use it to ranging from like a slowdown time or bullet time, to be exact, with the gunplay, to even sort of like stunning certain enemies or anything like that. In fact, if you take out the enemy with a sort of like with your melee attack, sometimes they'll flash white. That's when you could do like sort of like your character's finisher, which requires hitting two buttons, which in the case of the Xbox Series controller, it's basically, if I get it right, I believe it's B and Y at the same time and all those. So in terms of the combat and gameplay, I think it is enjoyable. I think it's fun. And I like how it's kind of a throwback to basically those kind of, gameplay back during, like I said, the PS2, GameCube, and the original Xbox era. The next thing I do want to talk about is the dialogue, and this one will come down to your preference and taste. To be exact, though, for me, I felt the dialogue, it's one of those, it's so bad, it's good. I mean, I'll be honest with you, the writing isn't exactly 100% perfect. I will admit there's some odd things, like you see the CGI cutscenes, and then you go into this anime cutscene or anything like that. But at the same time, I didn't find the dialogue to be cringeworthy or awful or bad or anything like that. It's just one of those, it's just so bad, it's good type of dialogue, though. And to me, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That might be different for other folks out there, but for me, I wasn't as bothered for it, though. And last but not least, in terms of performance-wise, I will say, for the most part, the game ran very well on the Xbox Series S, though. I haven't ran into anything that made the game unplayable or anything like that. And for the most part, it does maintain sort of a 60 frames per second, outside of like when you're doing like cutscenes and all. So it's certainly, for the majority of the time, it does run pretty well on the Xbox Series S and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2, which is the cons. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my review of Wanted Dead for the Xbox Series X and S. This is being played on the Xbox Series S. So now that I gave you the pros, why don't we get started with the cons? And there are a couple of cons I do have for this game, though. Now, as I mentioned in the pros, though, I talked about how the game ran well on the Xbox Series S. And it is true, though. Like I said, I didn't run into any performance issues or any issues that made the game unplayable, though. That being said, however, there are times when there are some notable issues, though. There was some cases, though, where I did see the performance did dip a little bit, though, in some combat situations. Though, again, nothing unplayable, at least for me, but that might be different for other folks, though. To even just one odd situation, though, where there's one scene where you're using a chainsaw, and yes, there are sequences in the game where you can actually use a chainsaw to mow down some of the enemies and all, where when I did it, though, the camera sort of panned out to a different direction or anything like that. I don't think it was intentional or anything like that, because in some cases when you're using the chainsaw, the word censored would show up like for laughs and everything like that. So it's just an odd situation, though. But like I said, nothing that ruined my experience, but there were in cases when it was sort of noticeable, though. The next thing I do want to talk about is the visuals. And I will say, I mean, for a game, this is probably, when you look at the visuals, it's most likely a mid-tier title or a AA title. I wouldn't exactly put this on the same scale as sort of a AAA experience or anything like that, though. I mean, the visuals are okay or everything like that, but I will admit there are better looking games, especially considering this is the same game that was made by some of the folks who worked on the Ninja Gaiden games. I will admit, in a way, when you look back at Ninja Gaiden, even Ninja Gaiden Stigma, those games, I would say, definitely look better than, say, Wanted Dead does. I mean, again, they're not terrible. It's just, they're okay. They're nothing to write home about or anything like that. The next thing I do want to talk about, and this one might be the biggest con I could think of for this game, is that the difficulty spike in this game might turn some folks off. For those out there, there are some that will like the challenges that is being presented in the game and everything like that. But for those, even when playing on normal difficulty, might be turned off on some of the difficulty spikes though, and that might turn some folks away though. There is, however, an easy mode in the game where your character, Officer Stone, is basically wearing like these cat ears, like disguise and everything like that. However, the only way to access this easy mode is through a cheat code. I'll have a link in the description. You can check out where what you have to enter in if you basically want to turn on easy mode and all. So it's just the difficulty I could see turning some folks away. Some might be okay with the difficulty in Wanted Dead, others may not though. And while I do applaud the fact that they have the easy mode available through a cheat code, not how we've seen where some publishers or developers will have certain things but behind a paywall and everything like that, it is can be somewhat annoying to access the easy mode through a cheat code and everything like that. So yeah, the difficulty spike is going to turn some folks off. Not everybody, but it might turn some folks away. And last but not least, there are some parts of the game that just seem a bit somewhat confusing, and I sometimes scratch my head wondering, why is this in here? Can someone explain this to me though? Some cases there are these odd mini games ranging from an eating contest to basically a karaoke thing, which just seems sort of an odd place to put in the game and all. Although I don't mind the arcade one that they have in there where you play like an arcade game to be exact, so that one isn't as bad though. To adding sort of anime cutscenes into it, which I feel like some of these scenes you could just even do without the anime cutscenes and all. Not that I'm saying the anime cutscenes are bad or anything like that, it just seems sort of an odd thing to add and all. On the other hand, one could argue with a game like Cyberpunk 2077, they do have anime cutscenes when you're basically finding, edge runner Easter eggs in Cyberpunk 2077, and one of the cutscenes will pop up from, Cyberpunk Edge Runner. So it's not terrible. It's just sort of odd that they put this into the game, and it does come off as like kind of scratching your head saying, why is this there, or anything like that. Overall, I would say Wanted Dead is a type of game you're either going to love or you're going to hate, and it will come down how you will tolerate what the game has to offer, particularly with the difficulty though. At its best though, I think the gunplay and the combat is enjoyable, even for a game in a third-person perspective though. The dialogue I felt wasn't cringeworthy or bad. I thought it was one of those, it's so bad it's good. And to me, based on my time with it so far, it seems to have run well on the Series S, as I said, for the most part though. At its worst though, there are some performance issues here and there that I did spot during my time with the game though. The visuals, again, not terrible, but nothing really to write home about. The difficulty spike in the game, I can understand how that could turn some folks away. Not everyone, but I can see why some folks may not be happy about it. And there's just some odd things the developers put in this game that really, like I said, from the mini games to the anime cutscenes, some might be scratching their heads wondering why this game, why does this exist in this game and everything like that though. But I will say at the end, for a mid-tier title or a AA title, it's not a bad game or anything like that. But I will admit it's probably one of those you probably want to wait for a sale and see if it's worth picking it up when a sale of the game comes out though. I am curious to see if how well the game does and whether or not a Wanted Dead 2 will ever happen. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, who knows though. But so I will say, not a bad mid-tier title, not a bad AA title to be exact, but I will admit it's one of those, maybe you probably want to wait until you see like a good sale whether you should pick up Wanted Dead or not, whether it's for the Xbox Series X or S, or Xbox One, PS4, PS5, or PC or /Steam for that matter. Okay, this concludes my video review of Wanted Dead for the Xbox Series X and S. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Wanted Dead though? Have you tried the game out? And if so, which version have you tried out in any way? Do you like this third-person, mixture of third-person gunplay and combat? Do you like this type of mid-tier or AA title you enjoy those type of games though? Does the difficulty spike in the game turn you off in any way though? Are there parts of the game you're kind of scratching your head wondering why is this in this game or anything like that? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put out. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal me, Patreon, or Steam Labs. Links will be in the description of this video so when you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!